Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here on a Saturday morning. I'm Supriya Bhualka. I'm the founder of Coding and More, and we are an AI institute that teaches AI and coding to children all the way from 8 years to 17 years. You all may have heard about the Chat GPT, the DALI, and all the new disruptions that have taken place in the last year. And these took all of us by storm, but there have been so many other subtle disruptions that we may not have noticed, but which is changing the way we are learning, the way we are working. And so today we have a very, very apt speaker with us today, Dr. Nancy Gleason. She is the director of the Hilary Ballon Center for Teaching and Learning. She's also the associate professor of practice in political science at NYU Abu Dhabi. So she's dialing in here from Abu Dhabi today. Her research is again so apt for today's generation because it's focusing on the fourth industrial revolution's impact on higher education, the future of work. She considers social impacts of education, employment disruption, continuous skilling, and the role of industry in supporting upskilling of adults. If this is all sounding like jargon to you kids, it simply means we have to rethink how we learn, how we work, and not be scared of this technology and embrace it. So over to Dr. Nancy, and again, children, this platform is for you. So don't be shy, ask your questions, put it in the chat, but while she's speaking, mute yourself, put your hand up, okay? Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to talk with you today. Oh, good, Ira. Thank you for saying good morning back. It's very nice of you. So I'm calling in from Abu Dhabi, which is the capital of the United Arab Emirates in the Arabian Gulf, where I am a professor at a university where the kids come from all over the world. And they come to study in a different way. They come to study where all the subjects are mixed together so they can think about problems instead of topics. So we think about climate change and ecosystems and the environment, and we think about different types of problems like hunger. And you can't just study hunger from science. You can't just study hunger from history. You can't just study hunger from literature. You have to mix it all together so you can find solutions that come from lots of different areas. And so that's the kind of thing I teach. And I teach two different classes. One is called the future of work, and one is called the future of education. And they're mixed, right? Because a lot of times we learn so that we can get good jobs, so that we can provide for our families, and so that we understand the world around us. And that's why your parents want you to get good educations, right? And I'm really proud of you for coming on a Saturday morning, because that's not easy to do when you have other fun things to do. So we'll try and make it a little fun too. These are two of my books. And these books are what we call edited volumes, which means I didn't write them. It means I invited the authors to write chapters. And what we're trying to do is understand how people learn really well when they feel like the classroom looks like them, talks like them, but also includes technology in really cool and interesting ways. And if you're younger, you might hear older people saying everything is changing. But if you're younger, everything is just new. It's not changing. So what's changing is the old people. You guys aren't necessarily changing. You're just coming into a world that's different than the one we're coming into. And so that's part of why all the grown-ups are freaking out about artificial intelligence. And you just grew up knowing it might exist someday soon. So what I talk to people about is this thing called the fourth industrial revolution. It's an industrial revolution we're going through right now. India is really playing a big role in this. And a piece of that industrial revolution is artificial intelligence. And what I'm going to talk to you briefly today about is what artificial intelligence means, and then what that means for work and for all of your learning. But I want to stop for a minute and just ask you to raise your hand and tell me if you can what you think artificial intelligence is. Or you can write it in the chat. Yes, Ira. Can you unmute, sweetheart?
Miss, I think artificial intelligence is when people program robots or other things to do what they want them to do.
Yes, that's an excellent answer. Good. Okay, we're going to build on that. Yes, Jayanash.
I think artificial intelligence is when you give any sort of online device the intelligence to think for itself.
Okay, big question. Can machines think? Can algorithms think? Yes. All right, well, these are two excellent ideas about what it is. Oh, I see something in the chat as well. AI is teaching a dumb machine to think and act like a human. Someone sent me that in the DM. Good one. And Hali, what do you think?
I think that artificial intelligence is basically robots that are trained with lots of data, making them as smart or even more smart than humans.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, they have potential to know more than humans do. In fact, we know they know more than humans do, some types of computers and some types of algorithms. And this was officially established, and I think it was 2011, because there's an American TV show called Jeopardy. Have you ever heard of that? Jeopardy? It's an old person's show, but they ask humans facts in the form of questions. And in 2011, they let the all-time winners of the TV show play against a computer who'd only learned the game 2 weeks earlier. And the computer beat the humans. So this meant the computer could find answers to questions faster than humans. And we had never demonstrated that before. So how many of you were born in 2011 or around there, 2011, 2012? Yeah, I see some hands going up. Okay, excellent, good. So since you've been alive, computers have been able to make this change. For us old people, this is a big change. For you, it's just how you're growing up. But that means that old people are adapting and changing how they understand these things. So let me go back and show you a few more things on my slides here. For all of us, the way the world used to work is changing. So the way in which we educate young people is changing, and the jobs that everyone has is changing. It's not just because of artificial intelligence. It's because of lots of different things that are going on in the world. And we all know we had to stay home for a long time because of COVID-19 and the virus. But also we've had to move around and make changes for heat or flooding because of climate change. And we know there's other challenges in the world that are changing the way we live and work. And I mentioned this phrase, the fourth industrial revolution. A lot of times in school, we learned that there was only one industrial revolution and that happened in the United Kingdom and then spread throughout the land. The story is more complicated than that, but for our purposes today, what we can understand is that we are in a moment of change that is bigger than previous moments of change, where technology changes how we organize the way we live. And what's different is that we have new technologies. And Ira mentioned robots. They are one of the 8 major technologies. We also have 3D printing. We have virtual reality. We have the Internet of Things. We have drones. We have blockchain, which is a type of secure computing. We have augmented reality, where you can put on goggles or play with other things that make you see things in the room that aren't there. And we have artificial intelligence. So where we've had a breakthrough in the last few days is with artificial intelligence. So since 2020, since a lot of you were 8 or 9, artificial intelligence has had a breakthrough in its capabilities. And these are making what are called AI writers or AI aids. And these aids change what it means for humans to think and produce ideas. And we're still understanding what that means for how school works, for how our brains work, and for what jobs we're going to have. But it's happening very, very fast. And what this means is you can have different things put in your body or in the people who you work with bodies that change what humans can do. It's not just on the outside, but we have what's called embodied tech. So for example, right now I'm wearing a piece of technology called Ultrahuman, which comes out of New Delhi. And it is it's what we call a sugar tracker. And it tells me every time I eat sugar so that I know when it's a good time for me to exercise. And this is a way, and it's connected to an app on my phone. So I know after I eat something, when I have the best use of my muscles to get really good exercise. So this is an implantable. I implanted it in my arm and I change the battery every 2 weeks. And this helps me individualize my exercise for peak health. There are all kinds of technologies like this. What's happening is we're realizing just in the last month that we can connect these things to what's called GPT-3. And I'm going to skip this slide, but basically it's changing jobs in lots of places. But this means that if you want to know how AI is going to affect jobs you're going to have and how you should learn, then you need to become the best learner in the entire world. Because there is no job you're going to have and no school you're going to go to that doesn't involve learning new complicated platforms and things with computers all the time. There is no job that won't be touched by this technology. And the example I always give is, I'm a teacher, right? A lot of people think what teachers do is we grade schoolwork. We give you marks, right? A, B, C, D, or 60, 70, 80, check plus. As of December 2nd, that is automated. I don't need to grade anything my students write anymore. This new AI writer can do that for me and probably better than I can do it. So I'm freed up to do other things, meet one-on-one with students, help them with their individual school projects, or work on writing my own papers. But I have to learn how to do that other thing better now. I have to go and learn new things about working with my students. And so that's why my job is changing and why part of my job is about learning. So what happens in the workplace is, instead of becoming a nurse or a teacher or a manager or an insurance expert or whatever that job title is, you actually become an expert in different types of tasks. So for example, I'm very good at leading people. If you know that about me and you deconstruct what I do into leading, then you might not want me to be a teacher who's grading papers anymore. You might want to change my job inside the university to someone who leads other people who need help with working with students, because you don't need me to grade anymore. So this is how organizations, jobs, employers are deconstructing a job title into the tasks we perform. And so what this means is the way in which artificial intelligence is changing jobs is making us a more computational world, where the skills you need are the ways you think, the way you respect other cultures, the way you manage your own body and health through praying, through exercise, through friendships, through rest and meditation. Those are the things you need to stay healthy. And then in these blue circles, we need to understand what information is given to us, and we need to question it, and we need to understand how computers give us information. That is what we call active learning. And there is no job in the future that won't have active learning in it. This is how AI impacts all careers. Because AI will give you information. It's already doing that in Google, in Wikipedia, and now with Chat GPT. It's giving you information. You need to have the ability to question that information. That's a very employable skill. And there is no career where that won't matter. So how ready are we for future skills? This is a picture from the country of Singapore. How many of you know where Singapore is? Can you raise your hand? Who knows where Singapore is? Oh, good. I see 2 hands up. Alia, where is Singapore? Oh, good, Jayanch. Yes. Alaya, where is it?
East.
East. Okay, good. Yes, it's southeast of India. Good girl. Right. It's right below Malaysia. And it's a very tiny country, only 26 miles, which I don't know how many is in meters, but it's not very many. So that country is working really hard to reskill its whole country to get ready for artificial intelligence. So they have these maps and plans, and they're measuring their citizens. They only have 1 million people, much smaller than any part of India. But they're planning by saying, okay, future jobs have to be related to the environment, and they have to be aligned to what's changing about people, right? So what's changing about people? A lot of people are getting older, right? And so we need to be able to take care of them. So those 2 places is where we think there will be lots and lots and lots of jobs in the future, especially for small countries, but also some big countries like Nigeria. Have anyone ever heard of Nigeria? Yeah? Oh, Nayantara, I see you raising your hand. You've heard of Nigeria. Do you know where it is?
It's in Africa.
Yeah, good. What's one thing you know about Nigeria?
Honestly, the wildlife, because
Yeah, Nigeria has a ton of wildlife. They also have one of the largest youth populations in the world. So lots of young people and not very many old people. They know all those young people have to understand how artificial intelligence works, how Chat GPT works. And then if they learn that quickly, then they can get them to be ahead of the rest of the world in jobs in that area. But you need to have the internet, and you don't have to speak English. This is the best part about artificial intelligence. It can switch languages very fast. Even my thick American accent, it won't make it so that no one can understand me, because you can change my accent, right? So the most important job will have active learning and learning strategies as skills you get hired for, because artificial intelligence and those other 8 technologies mean that all careers will require you to know how to learn. So when you go to try and get into college, or you go to ask for a job, hopefully the employer will say, what do you do when you need to learn something new? Right? Sometimes we go to the internet. Some people say we Google it, but you won't say that in 5 years. You'll say Bing it. Does anyone know what Bing is? Bing is Microsoft's version of Google. And last week, Microsoft bought Chat GPT. And so Google is no more. And it will become Bing. Gmail, no more. It will become Bing. Instead of saying, will you Google it? You'll say, can we Bing it? And these changes happen very fast now. Platforms where you used your whole life will go away quickly. So you have to have a learning strategy for learning the new platforms. This is how AI impacts careers. And you have to know how to use technology, and you have to be ready for change. Change is not fun. People don't like it, right? Don't like to, it's fun to remodel your bedroom and make it look cool and like maybe get some new clothes. That kind of change is fun. It's hard when you have to change your whole house, right? Or change schools. Those kinds of changes come all the time when you're switching careers. So you have to be ready for that kind of change. And that means you have to take care of yourself. You have to have good self-care, good sleep, good nutrition, good exercise, so that you can handle these kinds of things. And so the most important thing about all of this is figuring out what you care about and why it's important, right? You love your family. So what things can you do to make sure that the technology you're working with doesn't hurt families, right? That's a question you have to ask all the time. And you have to get enough sleep. Sometimes all of our music and phones and smartwatches and these kinds of things, they make it so we don't get very much sleep. Or we're worried about those things, so we don't get much sleep. We're having fun with our video games, so we don't get much sleep. If we don't get enough sleep, we can't be creative and we can't learn new things. And then we just become more and more frustrated. So if you don't have self-care and you don't have the right values to care about your family and the people around you, then you won't be able to use AI to have a good job. And AI will use you instead. And we don't want to be used by AI. So these are some of the things I wanted to tell you. Now, how many of you know what Chat GPT is? Yes. Okay. Mihail, can you tell us what is, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Can you say your name for me and then tell us what is Chat GPT?
My name is Mihail.
Mihail, thank you. Can you tell me?
So Chat GPT is basically, it's like Google, except it's way more better and way more enhanced.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. Does anybody else want to share too? Share an idea of what it is? Yes, go ahead and unmute.
Ma'am, Chat GPT is a open access software which basically works like a chat, but it can create very, very human-like write-up responses to the prompts you give it. And it is capable of writing essays, research papers, articles, even code itself. And I tried once, it actually created a code to write an AI program, which blew me away completely. And it is capable of writing songs or writing poems in the styles of different authors, poets, and all. So it's a very powerful NLP program.
Yes, that's an excellent explanation. And I'm going to add to this, but I saw Ira, you had your hand up as well, right? Did you want to add?
Yes, Miss, earlier when I used to not know about Google, I used to use the chat and Google a lot of things. So half of my homework projects, I've been using those chats for it.
Okay, excellent, excellent. I'm going to come back and ask you all a question about that, but I see there's one more hand. Vishenk.
Yeah, so I think Chat GPT is a smart AI model. It uses different research papers. It uses different like articles, research papers, and areas of information. And it has so much data that it's able to answer many of the questions that even humans cannot answer. So I think it's like a smart AI model, which is highly trained and highly educated. So I mean, it could be really good for the future.
Mm-hmm. And do you guys think, you can just write yes or no in the chat, do you think it's cheating to use it in school? Or you can write maybe or sometimes, but okay, I see one yes. I see a no. Another yes. Another yes. Another no. Okay, so we're half right now in the chat. So I don't think there's an easy answer to this question. And you know what? I don't think your teachers know either. And I see someone saying, if you're using it ethically, it's not cheating. So what we're finding already, because Chat GPT has only existed for 43 days, right? It's a baby. But what we know is it's very good at helping us make ideas already. But somehow in there, we have to make those ideas our own. But for example, I asked Chat GPT to make my PowerPoint presentation for today. I didn't use it, but I wanted to see what it thought it was going to say. I wanted to see what it thought the conversation should be about. In the end, I used a different approach, but it was very useful for me to see what other people are thinking about. The thing is, the future of work is about working with artificial intelligence, working with robotics, working with the Internet of Things. It's not only humans and it's not only AI. We know they're more powerful together. Schools don't yet know where it is ethically okay to use Chat GPT and where it is not. And the thing to remember is Chat GPT is not the internet. It's not connected to the internet. It's what we call a large language model. And there are many other models that have already existed, but this one is free and it's very fancy. It has a lot of what we call parameters. And so it's capable of doing things others can't. The thing for you to realize is that Chat GPT 3, it's number 3, is at the very beginning of what's possible. So maybe by the time next school year starts, there's an even fancier version that can do even more. And the question is, at what point does your using it make you less smart? Right? When does your using it for school mean you didn't actually learn anything? And so you're not growing your brain the way you need to, given how old you are. When are you using it to help you be creative? And when are you using it to do the work for you so that you don't learn? And that's up to you. And that's up to your parents to think about. So I have 3 kids. And what I've told them is they can use Chat GPT and GPT-3 whenever they want, but never for school. And that's our rule for right now. And we've made an agreement that come next school year, we'll make a new agreement. And every year we'll make a new agreement, but we have to learn to stick with the agreements we make. And if the agreement becomes not relevant because another technology comes, then we'll have another family meeting and change that. And I do the same thing with my students in the classroom. But for some of you, your teachers and parents might not know how to do that. So you have to think about what you think is proper, what you think is ethical. And sometimes that answer has to come from you. And that is part of having AI in your work too, whether you're a student or you're getting paid to do your work, right? It's not easy, but you don't want to be what's called de-skilled. You don't want to lose skills because of Chat GPT and GPT-3 or future versions of it, right? You still want to know how code is made. You still want to know what programming is. Because if Chat GPT tells you those things and you never understood it yourself, then Chat GPT can trick you, right? It can trick you into thinking things are true that are not true. And some of those things can be bad or falsely positive, right? And this is the same for artwork. You want to understand how to mix colors and understand how to make a really bright pink. What are the pieces that go into that? Rather than just asking Chat GPT to give you the index number for raspberry pink. It's fun to learn how to mix the color for raspberry pink. I don't know if you have raspberries where you live, like if they grow there naturally or not, but you can pick a fruit and you can ask Chat GPT to give you that exact color, rotten pumpkin color. But sometimes it's fun to learn in art class how to mix that color yourself. Coding is the same way. Writing in multiple languages is the same way. Now, Chat GPT or GPT-3 can translate into lots of different languages. Should you use it to do your language homework? Probably not. Because one of the things that's fun about languages is while you're learning the language, you learn about the food, the way kitchens are organized, the way markets are organized, the way schools are organized. And if Chat GPT just gives you a direct translation, you never learn about other cultures. And remember that future work schematic. If you don't know about other cultures, you won't have a good career. You have to know about other cultures to have a good career. Right? You have to care about other humans in other places, like Nigeria and Singapore, and even Abu Dhabi, where I'm sitting. And if that's just given to you by artificial intelligence, then you won't know. Okay, so from there, I will open it up for questions and see what questions you all have for me. You can either write them in the chat or you can raise your hand. I'm happy to answer all kinds of fun questions about Chat GPT or artificial intelligence or work or going to college or anything. Yes, Ira.
I have a question. If something I invented Chat GPT, and if I use it, would it, suppose if I programmed it to do something like give false information about an apple, supposing. So would it really give me false information about the apple, or will it give other people false will it give false information about
This is a very good question. So this specific one, Chat GPT-3, is trained to not give false information about things like fruit and vegetables. But you can trick it to give you the wrong information. So you could ask it about an apple that never really existed, and it will give you an answer. So for example, you could say, what happens to apples on Mars? There are no apples on Mars. And so it may answer you first and say there's no apples on Mars, so I can't answer that question. But if you keep going in the chat form, which is not the same as a search in Google, because it's what we call iterative. It goes back and forth and it remembers your next question. Eventually, it will give you an answer about apples in Mars. And you have to look up in other sources whether or not that's correct. So that your library and your librarians are very important. Okay, I have a question in my chat here. It says, how ethical is AI? And it asks me, is AI safe in terms of job security and in general to our future life? So those are three very big different questions. I would say AI is not ethical. That's not a thing. AI is a logic language that pulls from everybody else's ideas, and a lot of those are not ethical. But also, ethics are not universal. And what I mean by that is ethics in one place are different than ethics in another place. Ethics in one faith are different than they are in another place. Ethics for one age group are different than ethics in another age group. And ethics are different over time. AI is not any of those ethical things. It's all of them squished together. So it depends how you talk to it, what kind of answer you get back. So no, AI is not ethical. The next question, is AI safe in terms of job security? So coding has been automated with a platform called Copilot, and now with GPT-3 and soon with other capabilities. But knowing how to code is not, has not become an obsolete job. It's a language. It's just as valid as learning French, even though Chat GPT can translate French now. It has a place and a purpose, and it's valuable in that way. But the jobs that involve coding are changing very fast. Now, is AI safe in general to our future life? Depends on a lot of different circumstances. We need to remember that about 5 billion people are not connected to the internet. The way in which AI affects their lives is very different than the way it affects the lives of people who are connected to the internet. And this is changing really, really, really fast. So is AI good for solving cancer? Yes. Maybe it will help us find an answer very quickly and save a lot of lives. Are there ways in which AI may harm people? We're working really hard to avoid that, but there's no guarantee. Someone's asking in the chat, what's the basic idea of Chat GPT? So I can tell you this. This is cool. So we all know how Google works. You put in a question and it gives you thousands and thousands of other websites that might include the answer to your question, right? The difference is Chat GPT gives you an answer. And then you can refine that answer in conversation with the AI. So Google is just different search after different search after different search. Chat GPT is, no, I meant this. No, I meant that. No, I meant this. And it's connected over time. So it's very different than a Google search. It's giving you information that you then have to go check if that information is correct and fix and write and rewrite that information and add citations, give credit to the ideas. Even if you give credit to Chat GPT, you should say you got that information from Chat GPT. Someone else is asking me in the chat, how do we know if AI won't be used for the wrong things? We don't. It very much can be and probably already is for some bad actors. And we have to think about what those wrong things might be and be aware that they might be doing them to us. And it's not always wrong. It might just be annoying. I can give you an example. So I have an Apple account, which is where I get my music from. And I listen to Apple on my iPhone. I'm very lucky to have those two things, and I'm thankful for it. Not everybody does. So I use my Apple Music to walk to work, and I've set it up so that it gives me a different set of music every day because I don't like to listen to the same thing. And after 2 years of walking to work the same way, which was about 30 minutes, one day I was like, this music is annoying and I'm sick of it. But I realized it was the first time I'd ever heard the song. And I realized the algorithm was giving me the same backbeat and looking for algorithms with the same beat in the back. And that was really annoying me. It was giving me different titles of songs, but basically the same song. And that's not what I wanted in the beginning. This is called your robot quotient, your RQ. When do you know what the algorithm is doing to you? When do you know what the AI is doing to you? So that's not necessarily wrong, but we have to stay really aware of where we operate with algorithms and where we don't, so that we can correct them when they're creating a problem over time, what we call a subtle problem, a not obvious problem. Another cool question here in the chat. An automated robot may be able to help me save my grandmother from cancer, but wouldn't that be taking the jobs of doctors in the near future away? So wouldn't that be destroying the jobs of doctors? Aren't other jobs like that in jeopardy due to AI? This is a great question. Some jobs will become obsolete, which means destroyed or taken away. Those jobs will be automated. Other new jobs may be created. We still need humans to talk to humans. So think of it this way. This is my favorite example. Would you want a robot dentist? Ooh, I see some yee faces. You want a robot in your mouth? Or would you rather have a human dentist in your mouth? Me, I want a human dentist. So I told this to my dentist. I used to have a very fancy dentist when I lived in Singapore. And I said, Dr. Lam, I read a lot of papers and you're never going to lose your job because no one wants a robot in your mouth. And I got my mouth open with the dentist. And he said, oh no, Miss Nancy, I will show you afterwards. And he took me into a room and he showed me a machine called the CIRAC 5000. The CIRAC 5000 can 3D print your tooth, your exact tooth, in about 20 minutes. Now, the old way they did this, when people's teeth pop out and you need a new one, was taking a mold of your tooth and sending it away to a place that could make a new tooth. And that took about 3 weeks to 6 months. And while that was happening, you just have a hole in your mouth. Now that hole is only there for about 20 minutes. And when Mr. Lamb, my dentist, Dr. Lamb, bought that machine, he fired the 3 people that would work on putting that tooth back in your mouth when it came in from the molding company. So he's still there because I want to see him, because his patients want to see him, but he didn't need his whole team anymore. He's bought fancy machines that replace them. And probably those people didn't find new jobs at other dentists in Singapore. So they have to get skilled in new ways. And that's why lifelong learning and active learning is so important. They have to say, what was I good at being in the dentist industry that I could go and do somewhere else? Maybe I need to learn a few small skills and I can work in a different kind of medical hospital. Okay, that's called reskilling or upskilling. Yes, Mikhail.
I had a question though. See, if artificial intelligence is so smart, like if you ask it a question, it can answer anything at all. Like you said, the machine that can recreate people's teeth. Now people are getting fired because of that, but the boss is still there. So if AI is gonna do all these jobs and not people, how are people gonna earn money? How are they gonna get money?
This is an excellent question and a very important one. So one thing is some kinds of new technology will create new jobs. So one area that's a good example of this is outer space, right? Not just working on rockets anymore. Now you need to design outfits for space, help grow plants in space, help design satellites for space, help think about how to produce energy from the sun in space. And here in the United Arab Emirates, they're creating lots of what we call ancillary industries, other areas in which you can make money off of the space industry that didn't used to exist, like making food and other things, because they are planning to have humans living on the moon by 2117. Maybe in your lifetime, probably in your lifetime. So they need to prepare all kinds of things. And think of this, you don't get paid to work when you live in space. There's no space bank. So why do you do the work you do? And so all of a sudden, all these other new jobs come. Now, another example would be exoskeletons, like the one Iron Man wears. Do you guys know who Iron Man is? So Iron Man wears an exoskeleton, right? It helps him jet around. What jobs can humans do now that they can wear jetpacks? This changes a lot what soldiers can do. And we need a whole new kind of soldier that knows how to wear those jetpacks and other exoskeletons that make humans super, super strong. And we use this in manufacturing plants as well. So those are new kinds of jobs with new kinds of job titles. So maybe making the main thing in that manufacturing factory went away, but you need 10 new humans to wear the exoskeletons. So yes, a lot of jobs are going away, and the people losing their jobs are probably not the new people getting jobs. So we do have what we call in economics, technological unemployment. And that's not nice for a lot of people. So we want to find ways that our governments and other industries can help those people. Because while you're waiting to find a new job, it can be hard. Right? So that's a very important question, Mihail, and I'm glad you asked it. I want to show you guys what, there's a couple of questions in the chat about creating art and what are NFTs. So I want to show you another website. This is called Stable Diffusion. Have any of you heard of this? Heard of Stable Diffusion? Okay, so Stable Diffusion is a thing that makes artwork. And so I want one of you to ask me to make a picture of something at your school, and I want another one of you to write in the chat your favorite artist. So we're going to make a painting together. Yes, Ira.
This is the library, and in our library we have these type of stairs.
You have what in your library?
This in our library we have like a type of round stairs, and those are really comfy for me.
Okay. So, all right, can you mute yourself, Ira? Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, so Ira is giving me an idea that we can make a painting, an oil painting, create an oil painting of stairs in a library. Ira, what city are you in? Can you write it in the chat, please? Okay, and then we have, let's see if we have a favorite artist. Okay, how about an Indian artist, not Van Gogh? Who can think of an Indian artist? Write it in the chat. Yeah, Alia, write it in the chat. Okay, you can unmute, sweetheart.
Hussein.
Okay, do you know how to spell that? Can your parents help you spell? H-U.
H-U-S-S-E-A-I-N.
Okay, Hussein. Okay, so we're going to say create an oil painting of stairs in the library in the style of the artist Hussein. Now, do we want this to be a futuristic library, a space library, an ocean library? What kind of library do we want this to be?
A space library.
Okay, so I'm going to put in a galaxy far away, create an oil painting of stairs in a library in Mumbai in the style of artist Hussein. And now I'm going to hit dream. And we're going to have 4 different paintings of a space library. Ooh, what do you think of those? Here, I'll do this one. What do you guys think?
It's quite nice.
Yeah, so you can make any picture painting you want by anyone, anytime, using Stable Diffusion. Now the question is, who made this painting? If we want to give it an author's name, it's all of our names because we thought of it together. And there's 4 of them. You can make as many or as little as you want, and it's free. You can make album covers, book covers. Now I can say, make a painting by Van Gogh of Mumbai, and I can dream it. Now it's going to be in the style of Van Gogh, copying him. And this is the shore in Mumbai. And the more detail you give it, the more specific it can be. So this changes artwork and creativity because it's drawing from all other paintings and all other artists. And you can paint in any artist style. You can lie and say you own a Van Gogh painting. And so these make really tricky things, but also we don't need to go to those websites where you have to buy pictures anymore. You can make your own instantly for free, right? We don't need to copyright images anymore. We can make our own. And so this changes artwork. There was a question in the chat, do NFTs, which are non-fungible, I forgot what the T stands for, non-fungible, some tokens. But NFTs are ways in which we can own artwork. So platforms like Stable Diffusion, where we just made that artwork together, make NFTs valuable, makes the concept of an NFT valuable. But NFTs also mean artists need to learn how that whole technology works so no one steals their work. Every time you paint something now, you have to register it as an NFT or someone can steal it. They can put it inside the Stable Diffusion platform and smush your artwork with other people's artwork. Some people like that, some people don't. Right? And so this is another example of how artwork is changing. 5 years ago, everyone say, you should be creative. You should learn to paint because that's the one thing computers can't do. They can. They can paint and they can make really cool things. So we have to learn how to use AI. We have to know what AI is. We don't have to be expert coders. We don't have to understand the code behind Stable Diffusion. We don't have to know what large language models are, which is what these things are. But we need to know how they manipulate what it means to be human. We need to know how they change what it means to be creative so that we can work with them. And the book I'm writing right now is called Plus, because the future of work is humans plus AI. And I hope when it comes out in the next year or so, you'll read it. All my books are free. You can Google my name and all my books are there for free. You can download them. They're only available in English, unfortunately, but you can put the book into Chat GPT and translate it into another dialect. I'll take one more question and then I think we have to go. Any more questions? Questions from the parents are welcome. If you have questions, feel free to unmute. Oh, I have a question in the chat that says, if a computer reinvents an artwork, what happens to the creator? Probably the creator's idea is stolen. Is it possible for AI to replace everything we call art or adjacent to art, like music, writing, and art? Yes, I think it is, but then we start to value and think about things created without AI differently. So for example, will you pay more for a pizza made by an individual human than one made by a robot? Do you like the lumps, the uneven bread, the uneven sauce, the uneven distribution of the cheese? And do you recognize that as somehow more human and therefore you'll pay more for it, not less? That's what will happen with artwork as well. So maybe Supriya, I'll pass it back to you, but I just enjoying this conversation so much.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I know that we went a little over today, and I'm very glad that you stayed and answered all the questions. I think this was a very, very interesting and insightful talk. And I know that it's just the beginning, because now the children are going to think and relook at so many of the technologies that they've taken for granted because they've been born with this technology, and like you and me. And so they cannot imagine a world. And I know that, as you very correctly said, that we really don't know what the future is going to be. And we all are making assumptions, right? And I love the title of your new book, Plus, because it's so aptly put, you know, humans plus AI. It's not one or the other. It's together how we create a better future. So thank you once again, Nancy, you know, for taking the time to speak to our children. We will definitely look out for your book, you know, Plus, and I would love to share any other books that you think, you know, would be apt for the children. And thank you, children, for spending, you know, this hour with us, asking such lovely questions. If you have other further thoughts, please email us and we will definitely get back to you. So thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.